Tao Historical Region. Tao-Georgian. Tao is a historical Georgian district and part of historic Tao-Klarjeti region, today part of the Eastern Anatolia region of Turkey. Its name derives from the ancient proto-Georgian inhabitants of this area, known as Taochi. History. Antiquity. The history of Tao could be traced to the emergence of the tribal confederation of Taochi Taochi, take Taochoi, Tao at 8th century BC. Taochi was engaged in war with the powerful kingdom of Urartu, and the inscriptions of the Urartu kings Menuas c. 810–786 BC and Arjishti c. 786–764 reveal the wealth and power of this kingdom, which was possibly proto-Georgian speaking. In the 8th century BC, Taochi was destroyed by the neighboring Kolchis and Urartu, and part of its territory was annexed by the Kolchis. In the 4th–3rd centuries BC, region was organized into a province of the Iberian Kingdom. The region was bitterly contested by the Georgian and Armenian rulers throughout the following centuries. In the 4th and 5th centuries AD, following the Byzantine-Persian partition of Armenia in 387, Tao came under Persian influence, and its western border Iberian Gates served as a boundary between the two empires. Tao or Take was one of the 9 districts forming the territory of the Armenian kingdom of Arshak Roman III. Tao at that period was a principality, the ancestral domain of the Mamukhanid clan. In the 6th century, the Byzantines took control over Tao. Once the Mamukonians had disappeared from the scene, the Bagratids began their ascendancy. Middle Ages. Medieval Georgian sources recorded the upper southwest Tao and lower northwest Tao, of which the former was in Bagratid possession, while the latter was ruled by the Garamid house. By the late 8th century, the Bagrationi family had grown in prominence by the time the Caucasian Iberia fell to the Sassanid Empire in the 6th century, and the leading local princely families were exhausted by Arab attacks. The rise of the new dynasty was made possible by the extinction of the Garamids and the near extinction of the Chosroids, and also by the Abbasid preoccupation with their own civil wars and conflict with the Byzantine Empire. Princedom. The new era began in Tao-Klarjeti in 813, when the last Iberian prince Ashot I of the Bagrationi dynasty moved to Klarjeti and made it a base in his struggle against the Arab occupation. Recognizing the Byzantine suzerainty, he received a title of Curopalate Greek, Curopalates, and established the Curopalatate of Iberia. The Bagrationi family eventually took control of both Upper and Lower Tao and gradually expanded its sphere of influence. He encouraged resettlement of Georgians in these lands and patronized monastic life initiated by the prominent Georgian ecclesiastic figure Grigol Khanzda c. 759–861. For a long time the region became a cultural safe house and one of the most important religious centers of Georgia. Rulers of Tao. In the second half of the 10th century, Tao became a large and powerful principality during the rule of David Roman III of Tao. The growth and consolidation of this principality contributed to the expansion of Georgian cultural and economic ties with other kingdoms and principalities. The might of the principality was clearly demonstrated in 979, when Byzantine Emperor Basil Roman II, facing a large rebellion of Bardas Skleros 976–979, appealed for help to David Roman III. Georgian Expeditionary Corps under the John Tornikios defeated the insurgents and restored the emperor's authority. Throughout his reign, David Curopalates pursued his grand design of the unification of Georgia. Supported by Ione Mauritius, the powerful Duke of Iberia Kartli, he succeeded in having his adopted son Bagrat placed on the throne of Kartli in 975 and of Abkhazia in 978. Following David Roman III's death in 1001, his domain was inherited by Emperor of Byzantine Basil Roman II. These provinces were organized into the theme of Iberia with the capital at Theodosiopolis, forcing the successor Georgian Bagratid ruler Bagrat Roman III to recognize the new rearrangement. Bagrat's son, George I, however, inherited a long-standing claim to David's succession. Young and ambitious, George launched a campaign to restore the Curopalate's succession to Georgia and occupied Tao in 1015–1016. Byzantines were at that time involved in a relentless war with the Bulgarian Empire, limiting their actions to the west. But as soon as Bulgaria was conquered, Basil Roman II led his army against Georgia 1021. An exhausting war lasted for 2 years and ended in a decisive Byzantine victory, forcing George to agree to a peace treaty in which he had to abandon his claims to Tao. After the Battle of Manzikert in 1071, the Seljuk advance forced the Byzantines to evacuate the Eastern Anatolia. In 1072–1073, the Georgian governor of Theme of Iberia, Gregory Pakurianos, ceded control over Tao to King George Roman II of Georgia. Over the next 5 centuries, Tao was an integral part of the Kingdom of Georgia. The medieval house of Panaskrteli, who derived their name from the castle of Panaskrti, came into prominence with Zechariah of Panaskrti, who together with some other nobles put down in 1192 the revolt against Queen Tamar of Georgia, and were eventually enfeoffed with the Duchy of Tao. His descendant, Teaka Panaskrteli, Duke of Tao, defeated the Turkomans invading Georgia in about 1302 at Tortomi Castle. Tao was later placed within Principality of Samtsk, ruled by the House of Jakli. Modern history. In 1545, region was conquered by the Ottoman Empire, which retained it for the centuries. After the Russian annexation of Georgia in 1801, the region was contested between Russia and the Ottoman Empire in a series of wars throughout the 18th and 19th centuries. After the Russo-Turkish War of 1877–1878, one part of Tao, now designated as Yusufeli, and Oltu districts, were ceded to the Russian Empire and incorporated into Batum and Kars Oblast, while most part of historical Tao were secured by Ottomans as part of Erzurum Vilayet. However, the Russian territorial gains in Tao were reversed in the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk between Ottoman Turkey and Bolshevik Russia in 1918. Although the Democratic Republic of Georgia briefly regained its control of the region in 1919–1920, the subsequent invasion of the Red Army in 1921 led to the territorial partition of Georgia, in which Turkey received the provinces of Tao and Klarjeti. Today Tao is within the boundary of modern-day Turkey. Armenian residents were largely forced out of the region during the early 20th century, but the Georgian populace remains. More importantly, the region contains numerous Georgian historical monuments, notably the churches and monasteries of Ishkhani, Bana, Dalaskana, Parkhali, Kakhuli, Oshki, Aktya, and others. Recent study has found most of the surviving monuments in satisfactory condition, but some have been vandalized, and immediate conservation and renovation is urgently needed.